It was a dark and stormy night, as indeed it is, friends. But this is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. And since you can see that I am suitably attired, we must be talking about the ninth. Oh, I don't need to do that, do I? I'm already dressed up for it. We're talking about Beethoven's Ninth. This is Dave's Faves number 100. And what better way to celebrate 100 of these videos than to talk about my favorite recording of Beethoven's Ninth. Now, some of you may recall that when we did the original talk about Beethoven's Ninth, it was ages ago. I mean, it seems like a million years ago. I mean, it was when the universe was just an incoherent stew, an ionized soup of random bombarding particles. That was when we talked about Beethoven's Ninth. And, it's been such a long time since I've had to dress up for it because, of course, one cannot discuss Beethoven's Ninth unless one is suitably attired to consider this ultimate masterpiece of Western civilization. One has to be suitably humble before it and to treat it as the event that it really ought to be, which is actually an issue when it comes to performances of the Ninth, isn't it? So anyway, the performance that was my however version in the original talk was Günter Vahn's on RCA, which is absolutely amazing. But my personal favorite, the one I turn to as often as not when I want to hear the Ninth, aside from that one, of course, which is fabulous, is Ferenc Fricsay on Deutsche Grammophon. And the reasons are many, but I want to make a point here. The point I really want to make is that I am not saying that one is better than the other, because Vand is super fabulous and Fricsay is even just as super fabulous. See, you thought I was going to say even more, didn't you? No, they're just both fabulous, but they have one thing in common. And that thing I think is important, and I sort of just alluded to it. Neither conductor did more than one recording of this. And they made it special. And, I feel that way about so many works today. You hear me talk about these things, like with Mahler symphonies and whatnot. People don't care anymore about how many times they do something. And one version of it is just, it's how I felt on the day. Maybe next week I'll do it again and I'll feel differently. It's a horrible way to make recordings. And it's a horrible way to treat the Ninth of all works. My goodness. So both conductors treated this piece as if it was something extremely special. And you don't have to be a snob about it, and you don't have to believe in, the manifest destiny of German culture or any of that nonsense to treat a great work of music as something great, something that should be a special occasion, to make a performance sound like it matters, like it means something, damn it. And both Günter Vahn and Fricsay do that. And I think one of the fascinating things that I just love about this is that it was recorded in 1958, and it was the first stereo ninth, and at least on DG or something like that. I don't know. It was the first something or other. And not that that matters. But what makes it so wonderful is that, first of all, the sound is fantastic, number one. But number two, Karajan then swooped in and did 3 of them on this label with the Berlin Philharmonic, and he'd done some before that. And he never equaled this. He never did. And maybe he knew it. That's one of the things that's a non-musical, somewhat political factor that attracts me to this performance. The fact that it's just so damn good and that the next guy there wasn't able to equal it. Although Karajan did a very good Beethoven Ninth, don't get me wrong. He was really a fine Beethoven Ninth guy. It was one of his signature pieces. He just hated the choir. And that kind of, put the pause on the finale for a while, didn't it? But here you have the choir of St. Hedwig's Cathedral, and you've got Irmgard Seefried and Maureen Forrester, Ernst Häfliger, and Dietrich Fischer-Dieskau, a wonderful quartet of soloists. But the Berlin Philharmonic, what could be bad? But most importantly, you have Fricsay. Fricsay, who was such a soulful conductor, one of those guys who invested every phrase, every songful bit with an intense expressive, humane lyricism that just leaps out of the speakers. It's amazing. And I want to say, Gunter von did it too. There are other people who did it and who did it just as well, and some people in better sound. But I just, for me, this performance remains special, and I think it always will. I was asked by Deutsche Grammophon to do one of those videos for their Beethoven 100 celebration thing that they did, and they did, I don't know how many videos, 25, 30, 40, 50, something like that. And I had to choose something from their catalog, and they let me do the ninth, and they allowed me to pick the performance of the ninth that I thought best represented the label and Beethoven. And of course, this is the one I picked, because it is extraordinary, most particularly perhaps in the Adagio, which is the absolute definition and sound of serene spirituality and sublimity and all of those wonderful S words that seem to go with this piece. And I'm not a spiritual guy. I've said that a billion times. But, as Justice What's-His-Name said about pornography, I know it when I see it. I know it when I hear it. I really, really do. You can hear in Fricsay's performance that amazing ability to communicate. And whether you think what he's communicating is spirituality or whether it's some other emotion or feeling, it communicates. It speaks to you. The whole performance speaks to you, and it speaks to me. It always has, and for that reason, it is my favorite Beethoven's Ninth. And for this 100th number in this series, I just thought it would be appropriate to select it. Now, one of you made a wonderful suggestion. I thought that I should do 366 Dave's Faves so that there's one for every year, and one for every day in the year. So you can do a whole year of Dave's Faves and pick one a day. I think that's a great suggestion. I think I'll probably do that. So thank you for making the suggestion. But in the meantime, here we are at a milestone, number 100, and I want a milestone performance of a milestone work, and the Fricsay Beethoven Ninth is it. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for staying with me this far. Have a look at the Dave's Faves playlist at the bottom of this video, and take care.